EA is the worst publishing company of all time, arguably second to Activision due to their terroristic and predatory business practices that have completely ruined the franchises that they publish. Capitalism breeds imitation, not innovation. Today we'll be discussing one of my favorite video game series of all time, The Sims, with the recent tease of Project Rene, and The Sims 4 updates making the home screen look like a Fortnite lobby. I figured there'd be no better opportunity to discuss the gradual deterioration and quality of the game. I will also be discussing the history of The Sims' generational chef's kiss developers, Maxis. We love you, Maxis. If there's anything that I miss or important side notes, comment down below. Trust me, I definitely read all the comments. Maxis was co-founded by Will Wright and Jeff Braun in 1987. Their initial success was made upon the release of SimCity, a city-building sandbox game where players can create cities, designate zones of the city for industries, build infrastructure, and development. It was difficult for Maxis to find a publisher who showed interest in this project. Due to it having untraditional gameplay mechanics, many publishers felt a game that lacked a clear goal or win-loss condition would be a flop. However, a game that aimed at city planning and development attracted the casual and serious gamers alike. It also attracted the attention of several companies who wanted Wright's team to create simulation softwares for healthcare and oil refinement. Maxis created Sim Refinery for the Chevron Corporation and Sim Health for the Markle Foundation. Both of these products were intended to help train employees on the inner works of each company, in the end producing more successful employees. Over the following years, now named Maxis Business Simulations, it slowly spiraled into a hole. This is heavily due to poor business decisions and lack of funding. However, Maxis was saved in 1997. Electronic Arts, or EA for short, acquired the company through a purchase valued at about $125 million. During this time, Maxis was working on the sequel to SimCity. EA allowed Maxis to keep the independent rights to this game, but their focus was to be directed to their latest idea, The Sims. This was seen as a major gamble. A life simulation game was something the world had never seen. Comparing it to other heavy hitters at the time like Metal Gear Solid, System Shock, and Unreal Tournament, the meta of the era was FPS. What chance could a dollhouse sandbox game have against these titans? On the morning of February 4th, 2000, The Sims hit the shelves. The developers at Maxis were anxious. Was this a huge investment failure or did they strike gold? The Sims was not the first game to feature in-depth character customization, however it was the first game to feature real-world customization to such a degree. Once loaded in, the Sims start with a few pre-made Sims, or you can create your own. Players can make themselves, family, and friends, or even celebrities. The mind was the limit of creation. The default neighborhood is Sim Lane, where the goth and newbie families live. There are also several empty lots where you can create a home for the pre-made or created Sims. The buy mode features deep customization. It allowed players to create any home of the player's dreams. Want to make a minimalist style townhome or a 4-bedroom reminiscent of 90s sitcom suburbia. This entry also introduced the needs bar. As you play, you're in charge of managing your Sim's needs. I say manage because in this entry, the needs bar can be very unforgiving and require micromanagement. These become less of a problem in later titles, but was a very heavy point of contention as in some ways it took away from the overall experience. Still, this was the first game to feature such a true-to-life experience. It did not take long for the results to come in. The Sims 1 was an instant hit amongst players, quickly soaring to the second best-selling game in 2000, only behind Pokemon Gold and Silver. Maxis and EA found this risk to pay out handsomely, and EA quickly gave the green light for expansion packs for The Sims. Maxis had many ideas that did not make it into the final game and were already on the table for potential expansion packs in the future. This was due to manpower initially heavily focused on releasing a polished final product. The first expansion, Live and Large, released just 6 months after the game's initial release. It featured additional career paths such as being a hacker, journalist, or a musician. New NPCs are introduced like the Grim Reaper, Ghost, and the Genie, and additional neighborhoods, clothes, and the Magic Mirror. There were a total of 7 expansion packs that were released between August 2000 to October of 2003. These introduced new aspects to the game like dating, magic, pets, and fame. Now I want you to remember these expansion packs for later. These added incredible depth to the game and opened the door for its sequel, The Sims 2. I have a personal bias towards this game as it was the first Sims title I got to experience, and I personally love this game. I played both the PC and PlayStation ports, and despite them being very different experiences, they still hold up in being the most unique Sims experience. The morning of September 14th, 2004, EA and Maxis released The Sims 2, a direct sequel and overall graphical and gameplay upgrade from the previous installment. This game moves from an isometric view to a full three-dimensional rendering. This brought a new layer of realism to The Sims and allowed for much more in-depth creation. There was also the introduction of aging and genetics, a completely new feature from the prior entry that allowed for smoother cohesion if the player wishes to create families. Now, death wasn't entirely absent from The Sims 1, however, Sims were essentially immortal unless the player wanted them or allowed them to die. Sims 2 is also the only mainline Sims entry to feature cutscenes. These would occur during major events like marriage, falling in love, deaths, and major in-world events. Each lot is affected by the passage of time, allowing other households to experience aging and relationship changes. The biggest change, and my personal favorite, is the lore added to The Sims 2. There are many different storylines and drama for the player to explore and experience in each neighborhood. This ranges from the disappearance of Bella Goth, the romance storyline of her daughter Cassandra Goth, aliens causing hysteria in Strange Town, a drama between two families inspired by Romeo and Juliet, and there's much more. In terms of the PlayStation port, the game plays much different. Released on October 24th, 2005, this game was less focused on the sandbox features and more on a linear plot. This game features a sim of the player's creation following a series of tasks through several locations. Each location features unique Sims who have a set of gold and platinum aspirations you must complete before moving on to the next location. The game does not feature a larger overarching story, and its story mode primarily focuses as a way to explore each location and unlock different items and rewards. There is also a free play mode where you can visit each location as you wish, but you're not able to unlock anything. It's more of a feature to feel out the world and figure out which lots that you like. EA created the Sims Studio. Their purpose was to develop Sims titles and expansions following the release of Sims 2 Bon Voyage. The reason for its creation was to allow for Maxis to focus manpower on the development of their latest title, Spore, an evolutionary simulator featuring bugs or aliens? I'm not entirely sure as I've never played it. Many of the developers at Maxis were moved to the Sims Studio, and they have been the main developer for all Sims material for the Sims 3 and 4. However, the Maxis name was put onto the cover of the Sims 4 once the Sims Studio was put under the Maxis umbrella during an EA reorganization in 2011. There were a total of 8 expansion packs and 9 stuff packs that were released for the Sims 2. The expansion packs are University, Nightlife, Open for Business, Pets, Seasons, Bon Voyage, Free Time, and Apartment Life. University allowed for Sims to go away to college as young adults and live the dorm life. Nightlife introduced a more in-depth dating system, downtown lot, bowling alleys, new cars, vampires, and werewolves. Open for Business allowed players to run their own businesses rather than working a traditional job. Pets introduced dogs, cats, and a career path such as security, service, and showbiz. Seasons introduced weather seasons, gardening, fishing skills, and holidays that can affect the Sims' mood if they choose to participate. Bon Voyage allowed for Sims to take vacations at 3 separate destinations, each with their own special features and souvenirs the player can acquire for their household. The main attraction of each vacation is to explore and spend time in the community lot. Free Time introduced a new neighborhood, Desiderata Valley, along with new activities for your Sims, such as throwing footballs and ballet. There's also a new aspiration system called Lifetime Aspirations. Completing these rewards aspiration points that can be spent on items and buffs for your Sim. The final expansion pack, Apartment Life, allowed for Sims to move into apartments, form social groups, and added a magic system to the game. Witches were introduced in this pack and can align with good, neutral, or bad. Their alignment dictates the spells that they can cast and other Sims' reactions to them. The stuff packs added miscellaneous build mode and lot items into the game. I've never been one who was too keen on buying stuff packs, but many players enjoy exploring the aesthetics of each one. They also provide Sims with mood buffs and debuffs and can be a nice addition if you're looking to add more depth to your game. Let's rewind the clock a little bit and talk about each installment of SimCity. This was Maxis' original project and would gain them notoriety. 6 SimCity games have been released, with 5 of them directed by Maxis and 1 by Tilted Mill Entertainment. SimCity and SimCity 2000 were Maxis' solo projects. SimCity 3000, SimCity 4, and SimCity 2013 were developed by Maxis and published by EA. SimCity Societies was developed by Tilted Mill Entertainment. The main premise of the SimCity games is to develop and create entire cities and regions. You essentially take the role of a governor, and through careful planning, your goal is to create a thriving metropolis. There are many challenges and hurdles to overcome as you develop your cities. Fortunately, you have city advisors that can assist in helping you keep everything running correctly. Prior to writing this script, I have never played any of the SimCity titles. I grabbed SimCity 4 on Steam, and let's say it is pretty fun. I have played the City Skyline games in the past, allowing me to have a basic understanding of the core gameplay. Despite this title being released in 2003, many of its elements have aged very well over time. Graphically, it's not the prettiest, but I can't ask for much for a 22-year-old game. I can put up with dated graphics for engaging gameplay. The main difference between the Sims title and SimCity titles is the Sims allows you to create and develop individual Sims, while SimCity allows you to create and develop entire neighborhoods. SimCity 2013 is the only title to feature multiple expansion packs for the game, featuring futuristic buildings, pets, amusement parks, airstrips, and a Nissan EV DLC to promote clean energy. I mean, at least it's not Tesla. By this point, EA knew they had struck diamonds with the Sims franchise. As previously mentioned, they designated the Sims studio to develop all further Sim material. Next was their highly anticipated Sims 3. Released on June 2nd, 2009, Sims 3 is the best mainline title EA has published. This is primarily due to the open world feature. Gone are the days where you have to load individual lots in a neighborhood. The entire neighborhood is running all at the same time. This created a very seamless and engaging experience that made players feel like they're inside a constantly changing world. Another notable addition was Create a Style. This allowed for millions of combinations for clothing, furniture, and interior design. Players are also allowed to edit each lot in the neighborhood, allowing players to adjust neighborhoods to their liking, or tearing everything down and starting anew. In-game events now affect Sims moods. Things like fire, Sims deaths, embarrassment, or simply being well rested now affect your Sim's behavior. You can also choose how your Sim behaves at work. You can make them schmooze with their boss, slack off, or work hard. Uncontrolled Sims now can age, get married, and have children without direct influence from the player, adding a layer of immersion for the player. Gone are the days of personalities determined by a 0 to 10 scale organized by neatness, outgoing, active, playful, and nice. Enter the trait-based system that allowed for more complex creation. There were a total of 63 traits, allowing for players to create a combination of over 7 million personalities. The aspiration meter was evolved into a new moodlet and goal system. This played into the previously mentioned in-game events affecting Sims. Your mood is heavily determined by your Sim's personality, environment, and goals. This combination of factors can lead to short-term buffs or debuffs. The last biggest change is an improvement to the genetic system. Similarly in The Sims 2, when Sims can have children, the children inherit a small combination of facial structure from their parents. In The Sims 3, facial structure is one of the many features blended into the children. This includes and is not limited to parents' body size, hair, skin color, traits, and their appearances as the Sims age. A total of 20 DLC were released for The Sims 3, 11 expansion packs, and 9 stuff packs. In order, EA published World Adventures, Ambitions, Late Night, Generations, Pets, Showtime, Supernaturals, Seasons, University Life, Island Paradise, and Into the Future. World Adventures introduced 3 new locations, China, Egypt, and France, and each featured their own unique challenges and relics. There are also tombs for the player to explore, where they have to navigate different puzzles and traps to seek out rewards. Ambitions focuses on introducing new careers for your Sims. Architectural designer, firefighter, ghost hunter, investigator, and stylist. Several of the existing careers like medicine have new career paths. Late Night introduced the neighborhood of Bridgeport. The film career path allows for players to become a director or an actor. Several new skills were also introduced. Sims can now upgrade piano, drums, bass, or mixology. Apartment living introduced new traits and brought back the zodiac system. Generations introduced more in-depth dynamics between parents and children. For instance, children and teenagers can go through rebellious phases, and nurturing adult Sims can more efficiently teach children manners. Pets once again introduced dogs and cats with the addition of horses. With these animals came many complex traits and wishes for each of them. Showtime introduced Starlight Shores and the acrobat, singer, and magician career paths. Supernatural introduced Moonlight Falls and also included werewolves, vampires, fairies, witches, and genies. Seasons introduced, seasons. University life brought back dorm living and the ability for Sims to pursue the college experience after high school. Graduating college also gives additional benefits, like higher level entry positions in careers and easier promotions. Island living was very similar to World Adventures, which sparked some controversy among players as it introduced a new world, but a lot of people felt that this was an expansion pack for an expansion pack, as it didn't introduce any new material to the game. Mermaids were introduced though, as well as the ability to take vacation. Into the Future was the final expansion pack release for The Sims 3. It was a very unique experience that allowed for your Sims to enter a time machine and live among their future generations. The actions you take during the present can affect your experience in Oasis Landing. It's an interesting idea. The Sims 4 was released on September 2nd, 2014, and is the latest installment of The Sims. EA and Maxis' magnum opus, so to speak, as it is the culmination of the Sims experience. Though this hasn't been without its challenges. When The Sims 4 released, many players felt the game was very lackluster. The biggest and arguably most controversial change was the removal of the open world concept. Grant Rodick, one of the senior EA producers, publicly stated the decision to remove this was due to the high stress of maintaining an entire neighborhood simultaneously. They aimed for better optimization and shifted their focus to other in-game features. This change also affected the autonomous story progression for other Sims in the neighborhood in The Sims 4. Next, EA completely eliminated the creative style system. Furniture, clothing, and household items are now a preset set of colors. EA and Maxis have never publicly stated why this feature was removed. However, it's likely related to performance and optimization, and it is easier to perform a baseline performance test with a fixed set of colors. Again, a change many fans disagreed with. Though on a positive note, there are several changes that were made that enhanced the Sims experience. There was a large overhaul to the Create a Sim function. Now you can adjust and sculpt Sims' facial and body features with the click and drag of your mouse, which is pretty cool. This allows for each Sim to feature a unique appearance. Sims can also have emotions now. It's a more complex version of the moodlet system, where under certain conditions, your Sims can now be one of 19 emotions. These emotions can provide higher success rates with certain actions. Like if your Sim is in a playful mood, they have a higher chance of a successful funny interaction with another Sim. While if your Sim is stressed, they may be unable to do certain actions like homework or work. The last heavily emphasized change is the ability to multitask, meaning your Sim is able to, for instance, eat while watching TV, or use a tablet or laptop while on the toilet. They also can talk to each other while making food, tending a bar, or while doing several other activities. Other than these changes, the game operates pretty much the same as The Sims 3 with a heavy visual upgrade. The baseline game is a bare-bones experience similar to its predecessors. The real substance of the game comes from the expansion and stuff packs, once again, charging players for recycled material that should have been available when the game first released. On October 18th, 2022, Sims 4 became free to play and is accessible on PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and the Series X. There are a total of 18 expansion packs available at the time of writing this script. Project Rene is the latest project being developed by Maxis. This title was originally believed to be The Sims 5, however this was quickly shot down by EA. This title is being developed for PC and a mobile application. The most prominent feature is that this is being developed as a multiplayer experience. The player saves will be available on a cloud server, allowing access to your Sims on multiple devices, as well as shared creations and buildings between multiple players, similar to the gallery on The Sims 4. There appears to be a high priority on creation in this title. Through the trailers, teasers, and development notes released, Maxis has showed off much more in-depth animations, create a sim, and build features. This is in line with their focus throughout the years as each installment drastically improves in these areas. Rene will be free to play upon release, with in-game purchases being available. This is not surprising due to the direction EA took The Sims 4. Rene does not have an official release date, and EA stated that they begun development in 2022 and it is still in playtest. This game will be developed alongside future Sims 4 DLC, and seeing how profitable The Sims 4 still is 11 years later, it is likely we will not see this anytime soon. I bet you thought I forgot about the spin-offs. There was a catalog of spin-off games released between 2003 and 2018. Some of them were cult classics while others are... Now look, I have not personally played any of the spin-off titles besides the Herbs and the PlayStation 2 port of The Sims 2. However, based on what I was able to scrape, each game has its own unique flavor. One is a refreshing boba on a summer afternoon, while the next is a 10 out of 10 latte from your favorite liberal coffee establishment. Then you tried one that sounded interesting and it's a cold can of piss. The point I'm trying to make here is it's difficult to rank these on a numeric scale, and most of the titles were spared of EA's predatory business practices, allowing them to maintain their own personality since their release. The Herbs, arguably the most popular Sims spin-off, is heavily influenced by hip-hop and urban living. Many of the soundtracks were performed by the Black Eyed Peas and translated into Simlish. The primary focus of this title is to increase your Sim's reputation with other Sims. The Sims Bustin' Out revolves around the player Sim making enough money to kick Malcolm Landgrab, the rich and greedy neighborhood landlord, out of his mansion. This game has heavy emphasis on linear story progression rather than the usual sandbox gameplay. The Sims 2 Castaway is the most unique of the spin-offs, as it does not follow the same rules as the prior entries. This game focuses on being a sandbox survival game. The player's Sims are stranded on an island where they must gather, create, and maintain materials and food to survive the island's harsh conditions. The overall objective is to eventually escape the island or integrate yourself into the indigenous islanders' tribes. Oh, Maxis. Their development team has created one of the best virtual simulation games of all time. I have not played much of the SimCity series prior to making this video, however, after playing SimCity 4, the appeal is still there after 22 years. The mainline Sims titles have maintained a steady appeal to the masses. Personally, I miss the quirkiness of the early Sims titles. However, it moving into a more realistic tone was inevitable. This in itself has created its own appeal, allowing the hubris of men and women to play God in their own small worlds. The Sims' biggest undoing is EA. Many of the practices implemented into each of the Sims titles, like re-releasing prior expansion packs in follow-up games, has stood out as the biggest slap in the face to the series' most loyal fans. Additionally, the prioritization of optimization over player freedom is the biggest setback of The Sims 4. EA has also placed strict deadlines on Maxis developers, resulting in many of the updates for The Sims 4 having bugs that make the game unplayable. If The Sims 5 or Project Rene have the quirkiness of The Sims 2, the openness of The Sims 3, and the visuals of The Sims 4, this in theory would be the perfect Sims title, in my opinion. Not a game aimed at simulating real life, but a world that is in itself its own life. Because at the end of the day, this is a game, and its purpose should be for the player to have fun. The final thing I wanted to shine a light on in this video is the modding community. These people have added so much immersion and quality of life improvements to The Sims 3 and 4, but a heavy emphasis on The Sims 4. From simple clothing and tattoo textures to other additions, is single-handedly keeping this game alive. Most, if not all, of Sims 4 posts you will see on the internet, the OC is using some sort of texture or script mod. Due to how profitable The Sims 4 continues to be, and gaining 15 million new players since 2024, EA is not in any rush to release The Sims 5 or Project Rene. EA will continue to publish uninspired and recycled DLCs until the well runs dry. But they can never make me hate you, Maxis. Thank you for creating a masterpiece. Sincerely, The Sims community.